Hello again, and welcome to week 9. Here we are. The semester's moving along quite well now, yeah? Well, I'm thinking about week 9 too. Remember, this is your presentation week, so hopefully you guys have got all that stuff in the system uploaded, and can't wait to actually get a look at them to give you guys some feedback on your warehouse design. But the tutorial for this week, we're looking at IT in the warehouse or in distribution channels. Of course, that's the information technologies. And, it covers a broad range of subtopics within the overall topic. And to start out with, of course, we look at, challenges that IT teams or designers face when they're working with either a new warehouse or distribution network or an existing one, and trying to either upgrade or implement new IT technology. That's a redundant thing, IT technology, information technology. So I take that back, trying to implement IT into that environment. Next, we're going to move on with today's customer service expectations. Obviously quite drastically different from yesteryear, before e-commerce and even the internet came around. Customers were very flexible and realized they had no choice but to kind of take what they got, kind of thing. And the business world started really taking a closer look at customer service and how they could use that as a competitive advantage over their rivals in the industry. So we'll definitely be taking a look at that, because that's a personal favorite of mine, customer service. And then we're going to look at comparisons between your basic MIS, which is Management Information Systems, and distribution management systems. There is a difference between the basics and what actually the specifications that go into a distribution management system. We'll look at certain individual technologies that had been developed quite a number of years ago, as well as more modern ones. But the very first one that was implemented in the business world or industry way back when, is many years ago now, is called EDI, and that's an acronym for Electronic Data Interface. And what that is a way to link either supply chain partners' systems or your customers' systems in with your own, so that there's no outside interference or ways for anything in what you would call today's world getting hacked. So it's a very secure system from one communication point to another. So we'll look at that, at EDI, and how it's used even to this day. It's still used in various industries. And then we have another one, ADC, which is automated data collection, and the systems that are in place to do that. Because, as I'm sure you're well aware of, in today's world of business analytics, it's all based on data. And the world is literally swimming, or drowning, I guess you should say, in data. And companies have data for this and data for that coming out their ears. They don't even know what to do with it. They have so much data. But the reason they have so much of it is because of automated data collections. So IT obviously programs various points of data collection, to be able to collect it just automatically without any human intervention. And of course, at the speed of computers and whatnot, that data collection just balloons from there. So it's again, it's an interesting topic to speak about, because As I said, back in the day, the data companies would collect would be, customer names and information and address and telephone number and stuff like this. But the amount of data that's collected today on customers and on suppliers and business partners is huge. And it's, they have entire computer systems, data silos or data warehouses that are just full of all kinds of interesting data. But it's only, again, the data is only good as to be as valuable to the user as really how you can analyze it. It's great to have a bunch of data, but if you don't know what it means or you don't know what it can tell you, it's not going to really do much good for you. But still, we'll get into looking at that in the slideshow. Another area we're going to explore is barcodes. Now you may think a barcode is a barcode, right? You look on your soda bottle or the t-shirt that you bought yesterday, or just really anything that you're out there buying at the mall or at the supermarket or anywhere else has a barcode associated with it. And of course that barcode is an identifier, right? You can program a barcode to really tell you anything you want about a particular product, where it's made, when it was made, what market it's intended to be distributed into, all kinds of various things. Really, the barcode is just a tool. It's what you, the programmer, program your barcode to tell you. So you'll see on the slideshow that there's, I don't know whether it's 6 or 8 different slides that show all the variations of barcodes, and you may be shocked when you look at them to see how many there are. Actually, I think I may have even deleted a few slides of it, because I think when I was first given this course, several years ago, it was like half of the slideshow was just barcode after barcode after barcode and showing the variations. And I think that's a bit of an overkill. There's no reason for you to really to see that many barcodes. Once you get the grasp of what they are and the different kinds that are available, you get the idea. So that's barcodes. We'll look at that. But the more effective way of identifying a product, at least in my opinion anyway, is using the technology of RFID. And of course, that's another acronym for radio frequency identification. And the great thing about RFID is, it's a programmable chip. Sometimes it's a one-time label, RFID label. Once it's used, throw it away. Others are reprogrammable, so you can use them over and over again, identifying different products. But the great thing about RFID too, as long as they're not damaged physically in any way, and you can read them, you have a decent reader, it takes away the guessing game of, where is the chip, where is the with a barcode. If it's not readily available to scan, you have to look for it somewhere. And if there's some kind of physical damage to that barcode, it's not going to read properly. So that's the downsides of that. But RFID is more of a foolproof method of using it, as long as your signal's not blocked. Obviously, it's not magic. It can't read through walls and things like this. But if you have a decent reader and you're within range of that reader, it's going to be able to identify that chip. And RFID is used in many ways besides just shipping, warehousing, things like this. You would know, and I'm sure you've experienced this or been around when somebody at a shoe store, a clothing store at the mall or something is walking around with a product from the store they haven't purchased yet, and they get a little too close to the front door, and all of a sudden, woo, 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 and the security guard comes over and gives you the evil stink eye, like, where do you think you're going? And that's basically it's their security system, but it's working on the same technology though. It's reading the fact that chip in the clothing or in the shoes or whatever it is, the handbag, is programmed to read it within that certain distance and set off that alarm. So RFID is a great tool, and we'll look at that as well. looking at different management systems within warehouse. WMS is another acronym for warehouse management systems. So there's many of them out there, many flavors, just like Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors of ice cream. There's many different flavors of WMS too. Just like Canvas is a LMS, Learning Management Systems. So warehouse management systems come in all shapes and sizes and capabilities. So we'll look at the planning involved into what kind of system is going to be best for your warehouse, what kind of capabilities it's going to have, specifications, desires. Many of these programs come with abilities to scaffold, so you can buy individual modules that might benefit your company, as opposed to other companies who may not use those types of features that you just buy the base package and you'd be good with that. But some companies really specialize in specific ways that they operate their warehouse that the basic system may not really foot the bill, so to speak. So you buy additional modules to tweak it to be able to do what your expectations of the system really are. And then lastly, we'll look at standalone WMS systems, which, just like it says, a warehouse management system only deals with the warehouse. It has nothing to do with production, nothing to do with accounting, nothing to do with purchasing or engineering or anything else. Now it should anyway, in this day and age, it should tie into other systems so that they can communicate information back and forth, but they're not integrated into what they call best of breed systems, which are enterprise resource system, ERPs, which have a warehouse module. Just like I told you, you could buy different modules for your WMS, you could buy modules for your ERP, but most ERPs will come with a warehouse module already in it, because most companies have some sort of storage or inventory tracking they need to do, inventory control. Remember last week's tutorial. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at standalone versus best of breed. And of course, best of breed, you probably know that phrase from like dog shows or horse shows or things like this. But in IT world, what they're talking about is the best of the best programs. And of course, the mother of all programs that companies know the name of is SAP. It's a German IT company that puts out software to do various different things. But the beauty of SAP is that you can bring in modules to do virtually anything you can possibly think of with your company, and it can take it. It integrates with other systems as well. So it's it's kind of the mother of all ERP systems. And it comes with a price tag, though. It's super expensive. And we'll talk about that when I do the slideshow, how something like SAP, which I worked at a company called B. Braun, who is a German pharmaceutical company that made various medical devices. And if you've ever been to the hospital for really any reason, and they pop up an IV bag, an intravenous bag beside your bed, and pop a needle into your arm and this tube runs off there, more than likely that IV bag has got saline solution in it, which is a fancy word for salt water, just to keep you hydrated and whatnot. And if you can turn the bag so you can read the writing on it, you're probably going to see the name B. Braun, BRAUN on it, and that company kind of rules the market in these types of products. And that's the company I worked for back in California a long time ago. But anyway, that company brought in SAP, so I was part of that integration conversion from our old system. We used to be on a Windows DOS program. which was really old technology. And then when SAP came in, the company is obviously stinking rich. I mean, they, as I said, they rule the world of IVs and saline solutions and other different medical products. So they've got billions of dollars to play with, and they brought SAP in, and to them, $100,000 system is nothing. But it was a monster to integrate. It was a monster of a job to switch over all the data from one system to another. It took us some between 50 and 60 days worth of 8 hours a day, all day, transferring data from one system to another, and then checking it and proofing it to make sure it is what it is. But once it's up and running, of course, it's a fabulous system. But again, you pay the price for it. As opposed to another company I worked for called Alcius. They were a small startup medical company, and there I was materials manager / warehouse manager / purchasing manager. I wore a number of hats because there was only 19 or 20 people in the company at the time. So I was all part of just bringing that up to speed. And that company was operating on Excel spreadsheets. So we're doing all our purchasing, all our inventory control, all our engineering, everything on individual Excel spreadsheets that we would email back and forth to each other to alter or add things to. And so you could just imagine the danger in such a system. All it takes is for one person to delete a column or accidentally drag a cell over from one place to another, and it just messes up the whole works. So I went to my boss and I explained to him that I did a little research on the internet and found this company called PCMRP. They're still around today if you ever want to look them up. If you do have a small company, if your parents have a company that isn't running on its own independent software or dedicated software, give them a look. It's PC, like a personal computer, PC, and then MRP, like materials requirement planning. So PC, MRP. And as I said, they're still around today because I just looked them up just last week just to make sure they're still around before I tell you they are. And they're still just as economical as they were, when I brought them in, like 20 years ago. I brought them into that company. And at that time, it was like $5,000 US to really bring in everything I needed to run the company. And, that was almost like unheard of at the time, because even the cheapy software compared to SAP, which is like $100,000 at that time.
What you talking about?
Even the cheapy software was $10,000 or $20,000, and I got one for $5,000. So my boss, who is the vice president of manufacturing and research and development, he was thrilled to death that I found this, and so we brought it in, paid for it, had the people come in and train us all on it, and we implemented or transferred all our data from one system that we had on Excel spreadsheets into this PCMRP. And with some practice and run-throughs and everything, we got it up and running, and everything worked great. And they went on for years using it. I haven't really checked in with those guys to see if they're still running it or not. But again, there's that extreme, from one extreme of the best of breed, the SAP, all the way down to the little cheapy, what you would think would be considered a cheapy software, but it did everything almost that the SAP did, but just without the fancy, letterheads and graphics and all that stuff. But it was very effective, and it got the job done, and that's what's important. So that goes into, part of the planning thing. And that, again, if it's your destiny in the future to ever be warehouse manager, or even just parts of the material team or the inventory management team at all, that might be something to look forward to. So with that all said and done, I do believe that kind of wraps up what our introduction is for this week. And before I say goodbye, I just want to remind you guys again what I said at the beginning of this video. don't forget that this week is your presentation week. So get those videos done. I would suggest that you ask each other team members to look at your video and give you some feedback on it. Maybe maybe your little brother was walking back and forth behind you and you weren't paying attention, and you want to edit him out. Or, maybe your voice wasn't loud enough and you can't get what you're saying, or, whatever it could be. It's always good to have somebody else check out your work for you before you submit it. Please don't ask me to. That's not fair to everybody else to, for me to personally, proof your video for you. Plus, it would take a lot of my time to have to do everybody's video and then look at them again later. So don't ask me to do it, but ask your teammates to, or maybe your mom and dad or your brothers or whoever to watch it for you and give you some feedback on that. So I think that is it for me. Yeah. All right. So, well, have yourself a great week then. And here in Saigon, I look forward to my class's videos. Up at Hanoi, Michael looks forward to watching your videos. So, yeah, let's make it happen. Have a good week. Have a good weekend in between. And we'll see you in our online sessions. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.